Hey all, I'm just sitting here doing essays and that for a course that I'm doing, Wildlife and Conservation Management. Doing my master's degree in it, so I'm just doing my assessments just now. I'm sitting there doing it. But I got quite a few questions over the silly video that I did weighing bullets. Now, I don't usually weigh bullets. To be fair, in regards to accuracy issues and stuff like that, I wasn't worried about that. Let's give me some context of why I was weighing those billets. So, I purchased around about 250 rounds of Sierra Blitz King. It was 230 rounds of Sierra Blitz King green tips for the 223 and the 22250. I want to try them in the 22250 because they've worked brilliantly in my 223. But it's been really hard to get them cheaply for a while now, so I've been using Hornady VMAX. Anyway, the guy sent them out, it was great. I saw him, it was on one of the forums. Transaction was brilliant. And just as kind of a nice treat, he threw in another 20 or 30 VMAX, but they were kind of mixed. There was cannular ones and there was non-cannular ones. And he didn't know what the weight was. He wasn't sure if they were 53 grain or 55 grain. So I thought, well, I'm going to give them a quick weigh and see what they are, just throw them in. There wasn't many. And that escalated. Because I noticed with the VMAX, it was some were 55 grain, some were 54.9 grain, some were 54.8 grain, and a couple of ones were like 54.5 grain, so that's like half a grain less. I was like, weird, I wonder if Sierra was any different. So I started that. I went through the process of, I just put all 2.5 boxes into one box and I started weighing them and sorting them out. And it worked out that most were 54.9, a large amount were 55 grain, and a few were 55.1 and 55.2. Now, what does that make a difference? It doesn't really make a difference. It doesn't make a difference to you, me, or any shooter. In fact, that 0.1 of a grain probably isn't going to make much of a difference in accuracy unless you're like an F-class competition shooter. And I'm not a competition shooter, so I really, as long as I'm getting sub-MOA at 100, sub half of MOA most of the time, and some quarter and 1 or 2 of my rifles, I'm happy. You know, like my 6.5 PRC shoots quarter MOA. My 6.5 Creedmoor shoots sub-quarter MOA, and the rest of them kind of shoot like around about quarter to a half MOA. So I'm really happy with my loads. I'm not shooting out to massive distances. I mess about with targets out to 650 sometimes and steel plates at whatever. But most of the time I hunt, I shoot deer, I shoot a lot of deer. That's what I do for a living. In fact, once I've done this in the next hour or two, I am going to work and I will be spending the night shooting deer. But what it does mean is I noticed I had a box of 50 grain and I thought to myself, wait a minute, if this is the kind of deviations with 55 grain, I'm going to throw in a couple of 50 grain to see what they're like. And a couple of the ones that I measured were down as far as 49.6. So technically that's almost half a grain, right? 0.4 of a grain. And everybody thinks, no, there's a few tenths or whatever. So the law in Scotland says that you can use a 50 grain bullet to shoot rodeo. Now, that's fine. That's the minimum. Not 49, not 49.5, not 49.9, 50 grain. If somebody really wanted to like measure your bullets and say, right, okay, David, you're shooting roe deer illegally with a 50 grain bullet, because your 50 grain bullets are not 50 grain, then I would be in trouble. But that's not going to happen. That's probably never going to happen. Nature Scott's probably not going to come to me, or an FEO is going to come to me and say, oh, what do you use these bullets for? They're not quite 50 grain. The fact of the matter is that we rely on quality control from manufacturers. The firearms industry is really up in the air right now. Getting powders is almost a nightmare for certain powders. Can't get Alliant at all because they've kind of removed Alliant from the market. Bullets from time to time are really, really hard to get, and it's worse in the UK than what it is in most places in the world. And we all kind of strive on accuracy or being told what we are buying is the genuine thing. Now, you have guys out there that are shooting 50 grain bullets on road deer, and that's because they don't think they're doing anything wrong. Now, I've had this issue with muzzle velocity as well. I had a friend, it's quite sad he's not with us anymore, but I had a friend who asked me to chronograph his rifle, and he was reloading, and his book speeds were telling him he should have been getting around about 2900 to 3000 FPS. In fact, he was getting 2410 FPS out his rifle, with the lowest at 2390, and I will never forget this. It was a number of years ago now, it's like 3 or 4 years ago now, but maybe a little longer. But technically, he was shooting deer with a completely illegal round through his 270. It wasn't even a small caliber. It was through his 270. His loads were underperforming so badly that technically, if anybody had chronographed his rifle, he would have been shooting under the 2450 frames per second. Frames? I'm talking cameras, God. Feet per second. 2450 FPS that is required. So that makes you wonder, it's like how many people out there are actually shooting animals, shooting deer illegally? It always made me wonder. So I've chronographed many rifles for customers and clients and friends and that over the years using the Magneto, and I wouldn't even have had the Magneto myself if it wasn't given to me as a gift. And they all those rifles perform differently, sometimes better, sometimes worse, than what you have got. So bear that in mind. Do your own quality control. It's just kind of like a short 5-10 minute video. I'm not going to waste my time a lot on this. But yeah, just bear in mind, you really need to kind of look at what you've got and do your own quality control. If you're finding inconsistencies or something, find out what your inconsistencies are. It could be a manufacturer problem. It could be a rifle problem. It could be that you're just reading the wrong data or whatever. Just bear in mind, it's up to you as a shooter to do your own quality control. I know a couple of guys probably jumped off my channel yesterday because I didn't reply to their comments about I've got too much time in my hands and stuff like that. Honestly, I was having breakfast, having a cup of tea, and I was weighing those little kind of VMAXs, and it got to me thinking, and I ended up spending about an hour and a half of my life, which I'll never do again. I will probably never ever do it in my life again. Those Sierra, and I was like, ugh. It was tedious. It was hard work. I don't even know why I got the brain capacity. Anyway, like and subscribe. I have got some exciting news coming up. DNT, I've got some new products coming out, and I will be showcasing 1 or 2 of them in the field, and hopefully in the next few weeks, hopefully before Christmas. Then we have the run up to the shows starting next year. I might do a little deer stalking competition to see if anybody is interested in coming out deer stalking with me, but we'll see. That might be for next year. But other than that, I've got some exciting stuff coming up, so stay tuned. I know I've been like sporadic lately. It's not been meant. Anyway, have a good one, stay safe, and I hope you are all set for, oh God, it's Christmas already. Anyway, speak to you soon.